So, I've got a hot take for you. I think Dark Phoenix isn't really a bad movie. I know, it sounds insane. Ludicrous even. The first time I saw this movie, I went in ready to hate it. After seeing what Simon Kinberg did with Fan Four Stick, I expected nothing less than part 2 of that immeasurable pain. I mean, it was delayed a lot, it was a first-time director, and I thought Apocalypse was kind of not interesting at all. Except for the Quicksilver scene. The clips they released online were also not particularly good and kind of laughable out of context.
You might want to think about changing the name to X-Women.
Kind of forced there, Simon. So naturally, I kind of already made up my mind that this was going to be no fun for anyone. Once I left the theater, I just kept thinking to myself, man, that was horrible. I can't believe that's the last X-Men movie we're going to get. Way to go out on a low note. I guess we got New Mutants now, so that'll save the franchise.
I am very disappointed!
I told my friends, family, coworkers, anyone who would listen how I thought this movie was no good for anyone. In my mind, the movie became nothing more than a punchline. Then, after about a month, it was pretty much gone from my mind. I moved on and never really thought I would cross paths with it again. But then I crossed paths with it again. I was channel surfing around HBO the other day, and out of the corner of my eye, I spotted it. So innocently, sitting there, like it was doing nothing wrong. I thought to myself, how dare it? I must watch it to show how much it's hurting people. So I flipped it on, and I enjoyed myself. The more I watched it, the more value I saw in this movie, and the more I saw a genuine story and voice emerging. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's still unique and a lot more entertaining than it has any business being. The acting's good, the story's interesting, the music is flat out amazing, and it does what literally no other X-Men movie has done to this point. It excludes Wolverine completely in order to tell its own story. I mean, granted, X-Men First Class did most of this, but you know,
go fuck yourself.
Had the best line in the whole movie. And after watching this a third time, I can safely say there is something to be appreciated about this movie. Now, does that make it a good movie? Well, we'll see. Now, first things first, and this is something that is almost undeniable about the movie. The score is amazing. I seriously consider it probably my favorite X-Men movie soundtrack. Hans Zimmer has taken what he does best and done it to this movie. You can tell right away there are some Dark Knight, Interstellar vibes to the music, and I think it works perfectly with the atmosphere Kinberg was aiming for. I can't play the tracks here because copyright exists, but go off and listen to the tracks, Gap and Dark. I think they're incredible. Hans Zimmer's score makes the action scenes feel more intense and the scenes of just Jean by herself that much more dramatic. If nothing else, I would give the music a listen. I know most people don't like to do that with movie scores, but I believe they're a work of art just like any other piece of music.
What exactly are you Professor of, Mr. Logan?
Art. Alright, into the film. The movie starts off with Jean narrating for once, not Charles, which is kind of a nice change of pace because I'm getting a little sick of him talking at me so much. Like, we get it, you know everything, you're psychic. Then it gets into Jean's backstory, and I'm glad they finally show something of her past. I also love that the scene in the hospital feels almost exactly like that opening scene of Unbreakable. I see you, Kinberg. Someone's a fan. Besides, obviously, McAvoy.
Duh, yeah.
And then the movie gets immediately into the inciting incident, with the space shuttle getting hit by a flare and definitely not a Phoenix Force, and the president calls the X-Men personally to help them. I like that the movie doesn't waste time and just throws us in just like the characters are being thrown into the action.
Any questions?
Yeah, like 1,000.
Charles insists their jet can make it into space, the team gets into uniforms, and okay, I just have to get this out of the way now. How the fuck old is everyone? It's supposed to be like 1992, I think, but everyone looks exactly the same as they did in 1961, except maybe 5 years older. Hank should be at least 50 by now, but he looks at most 30. There's only supposed to be like 9 years before McAvoy becomes Stewart and Fassbender becomes McKellen. Stop skipping decades. It worked for the first two. We had a lot of laughs, we had some good times, and now it's over. Please stop. There is no point to this. It's like you're actively trying to agitate me.
It's not worth it! It's just not worth it!
Anyway, back to the movie. In regards to the new costumes, I I like them. I think they look fine. Way better than the ones that were in Apocalypse, that's for sure. I am a little pissed off that they teased us with their comic accurate costumes at the end of the last one and then completely backtrack on it in this one, but whatever. These outfits make them look more grounded and more like a unified team, so I can dig it. The X-Men fly into space.
3, 2, 1.
Got a blast!
And I love how well they're working together. They really do feel like a team, with Storm sealing up the holes in the ship, Nightcrawler and Quicksilver getting people out, and I especially love the turret on the jet for Cyclops.
I love it.
And I love how tense the whole situation is, especially because you know it won't end well for Jean, which makes you understand a little more Scott's hesitation and protectiveness over Jean. So Jean saves everyone by getting hit with the Phoenix Force. They bring her back to the X-Mansion, and she's totally fine.
I feel fine.
And I believe you.
Then Charles gives her congratulations, and then, oh, god damn it, Raven, stop changing into Jennifer Lawrence's face. You had a reason in the first one, the second one you stopped doing it except when you needed to, and then the third one you did it way too much. Stop it. I don't care if the makeup takes a while. You took this role, so suck it up and do it. Be Mystique or be nothing. Rebecca Romijn did regular face only once in 3 movies, and you do it every 5 fucking minutes. I didn't come here to see your normal face, and that goes for you too, Beast. You're not the Hulk, so stop pretending to be. What the fuck happened to Mutant and Proud? Literally, you're in the one place in the world where everyone will accept you no matter what. So why are you doing this? Why are you changing your faces? And it doesn't make anything better when you say lines like,
Ex-women.
you're making this so forced.
It's like you're begging me to hate you.
Dude, Deadpool is literally laughing at you in his movies.
I was always appalled by the blatant sexism in the group's name. X-Men? Men?
So stop beating us over the head with this, we're not sexist, you're sexist shit, guys. I know this movie was written by one dude.
Are you a scared little girl who answers to a man in a chair?
Try me, bitch.
I guess I'll give the movie this. They do it a lot less here, just because Raven dies about 30 minutes in, but I'll digress. Aside from the X-women comment, I love the conversation where Raven calls Professor X out on his crap. He keeps taking bigger risks. He's becoming so egotistical that he sees himself and the rest of his team the way the rest of the world does, as superheroes. He's lost sight of the fact that they're just people like everybody else. That was his whole point. I like that in this movie he actually has some kind of character arc and character change. In all the Patrick Stewart movies, except for Logan, obviously, he almost always portrays Professor X as an omniscient, godlike figure who seems to know everything. But here he's just trying to do the right thing and, gets a little egotistical. Even when a student almost dies, he's still not even fazed by what he's doing to the people he cares about the most. It feels like a pretty natural character progression from the last 3 films where he's trying to make mutants look good, and now that he has, he's become kind of an asshole and kind of self-centered.
You're in my class, not the other way around. I know everything, and you know nothing.
So Jean's totally fine.
Hey, everybody! Huge alcohol party at the Goat House!
She goes to the party with the other students, and I love that she and Scott actually have chemistry for once. They actually seem like a real couple. Also, side note, when the hell did Ty Sheridan get so jacked? Wasn't he a kid like yesterday? Dude's fucking huge here. Anyway, they go to a big alcohol party outside, and look, there's Dazzler. Okay?
She's a huge fan favorite. It was someone that I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to cast.
I like the Hank and Raven scene where they're talking about whether they should leave, and now that they made the world better for everybody, shouldn't they join it? They still clearly care for each other after all these decades and are both conflicted about where their futures are supposed to be. But then it turns out Jean isn't totally fine. Her powers go crazy, and she passes out. And then we meet the villains of the story, and they're a mixed bag. Their powers and stuff do make them feel pretty threatening, like when they twist people's insides. It's like legitimately terrifying to me. Plus, at the end, they almost feel like an infinite army of baddies coming after Jean. They're almost like a swarm of bees coming at the X-Men in 5 different directions. It's pretty intimidating. But then you have Jessica Chastain, who is just
The world!
She's the worst in the world.
I don't even remember her character's name. White hair Magoo, maybe? Nice wig, by the way. Strike that. Terrible wig. I think she might even be worse than Steppenwolf. She's that bad. She just looks bored. She says some of the most hilariously cliche lines of any bad guy dialogue in any movie I've ever seen. Like, I straight up laughed and cringed at basically everything she says. The only time I didn't laugh was when she was speaking that weird alien made-up language, and that's because I didn't turn on the subtitles. Purposefully. And is it just me, or does she have the exact same motivation as Zod did in Man of Steel, but like way worse? Use a space thing to rebuild her race after they destroyed themselves or were destroyed. Didn't we establish that they could just colonize Mars? Why the hell is Earth so damn special? Gosh, she's just...
This is the worst. You are the worst. I hate looking at your face. I want to smash it.
I don't think it's Chastain's fault. She really had nothing to work with here. Just listen to the dialogue.
You're afraid of it because you think it makes you bad, evil.
Feel the power inside you.
That power is you.
You wanted her dead.
Your lives mean nothing.
I'm the bad guy?
Yeah, maybe hire another writer for this part, Kinberg. Anyway, Jean's all unconscious now and figures out her dad's still alive. What? So she goes off to find him, and the X-Men then show up and try to convince her to come back, but then the cops show up. For some reason, why did the cops come? Is it because the X-Men were there? Did her dad call them? I don't know, whatever. The fight scene resulting from this is actually pretty cool. I just wish it was longer, you know? We don't get to see it for more than a minute. I think there should have been a lot more of this, but whatever. It was interesting enough for what it was. But then she takes out Quicksilver and accidentally kills Raven.
Shit! Yes, go! Real!
Yeah, I know. We all totally saw this and was totally spoiled by all the trailers, but it was done more effectively than I thought it would be. The change in the mood is so palpable once you see everyone's reactions. Like Charles, Jean, and Scott are in total shock over what just happened, and Beast becomes inconsolably distraught by it. And Charles' insistence that he did nothing wrong is just the worst thing he could say to Hank. It further emphasizes how out of touch he is. It's literally like the opposite of what Hank needed to hear here. Here. Nice. We know that it's Charles' fault that she's dead. Even if the Phoenix Force is what sent her over the edge, his lies and manipulation is what got her killed. And the fact that he can't see that and he almost blatantly dismisses Hank's frustration as just venting is so arrogant.
He's an asshole.
Charles's guilt and arrogance are done so much better here than in The Last Stand, where it's just basically one throwaway line that he put blocks in Jean's mind.
I don't have to explain myself. Least of all to you.
And Jean's total horror over killing her main mentor so believably isolates her even further from everybody she cares about. She understandably feels like she has no choice but to go to Magneto. She's looking for someone to help her and accept her, and someone who has dealt with the burden of losing someone and killing someone that they love. And I love that Scott really steps up after this, and we start to see him really become that leader of the X-Men that he's supposed to be. It feels natural, and it's a hell of a lot better than anything we saw from James Marsden version. All in all, Raven's death totally works for me. So Jean goes to see Magneto, and we finally get to see Genosha on film. Even if it looks just like a hippie commune, it's always something I've wanted to see in live action. Magneto's not always just a bad guy, he's actually trying to help people as well. Mutant protection is kind of a huge element that we've heard him talk about, but we haven't really seen until now. My only gripe here is that everyone looks too normal. The whole idea is to help those who can't really live a normal life, but it feels like most of these dudes would be fine. That might just be a small element, but I feel like I would have liked to see one Nightcrawler looking guy here. But whatever, it's Genosha. I love it.
I love it.
And his monologue about vengeance consuming a person feels pretty real. I can tell it's something that his character is still actively working on, but he's trying to be better and trying to help people instead of hurt them. And so when he goes against basically everything he says in this monologue when he hears Raven died, I absolutely believe it. You can just feel through Fassbender's performance how hard it weighs on him. And when he realizes that he had the woman he loved's killer right in front of him with her blood on her shirt and did nothing, he understandably falls back into his old ways. Magneto has always been one constant strong point in all of these prequel movies, and this movie does not change that at all for me.
I get that a lot.
So the military coming in after Jean is a scene that, when I saw it ahead of time, I thought looked really stupid. But in the context of the movie, it works a lot better, I think. First, Magneto stopping that helicopter blade was fucking awesome. When Jean's very presence threatens the peace and threatens all of the mutants that are part of his family now, you can tell he feels he has no choice but to kick her out to protect his people. So it's no wonder that she falls for the bad guy's seduction. How did they find her in this random bar? Jessica Chastain says,
Let's just say I have friends in high places.
that means literally nothing. Are you friends with God or something? These are the stupidest lines I've ever heard by a bad guy, probably ever.
Who are you?
The better question is, who are you?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So they take her to some New York apartment, and Magneto and the homies go there to kill her, and Charles and Scott take the X-Men they have left to stop them. The resulting fight is super cool. Everyone's using their power in a fun way. They all feel highly skilled and not quite amateurs as they were in most of the other films. The score is super high energy once again, and Magneto casually pulling the train out from underground is pretty damn badass. The moment when Magneto tries to kill Jean, there's that oh shit look on his face when he realizes how underpowered he is compared to her. He knows how fucked he actually is, and the crushing of his iconic helmet around his head is such a great display of her power. You don't know if she's gonna destroy his head or just rip the helmet off of him. That unpredictability makes her feel so much more dangerous. And Charles still refuses to give up on Jean. And when he makes Jean realizes how sorry he is and that he would never give up on her no matter what, you can see how loved she finally realizes she actually is. And then, shock of all shocks, the bad guys are revealed to be bad guys.
Say what?
Chastain takes like 50% of the Phoenix Force before Scott stops her, and then all the X-Men get arrested, and they're all put on a train with inhibitor collars and sent to, I assume, mutant jail. Then Charles gives one of his patented speeches, one that Magneto said just a minute ago that nobody gives a shit about anymore, but this time it actually feels genuine. It feels like he actually learned something he did wrong. It's perfect, and you feel Eric, Charles, and Hank's arcs all come to a head here.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have. We're the three best friends that anyone could have.
Next comes what is no doubt in my mind the best scene in the whole film, the train fight. Everything about this scene, I think, is some top-notch filmmaking. The editing, the camera work, the score especially, the acting, top quality. It's intense, it's badass. The villains actually feel like they could overwhelm the good guys. They have a distinct weakness and a distinct strength, and it's filled with some of my favorite and some of the most underrated moments from any X-Men movie. From the X-Men and Magneto reuniting to face a common enemy, to Beast going full beast on the bad guys. Everyone's working together in conjunction, talking back and forth. Nightcrawler going absolutely berserk on these fools, and to top it all off, so many of the dopest Magneto moments I've ever seen. X gonna give it to you. Fuck waiting for you to get it on your own. X gonna deliver to you. There's just so much cool stuff in this, I don't think I could take another job.
This is straight up delicious.
On a side note, during the scene I realized, and it isn't so much about this movie, but as a series as a whole, you guys know Storm has a real name, right? Like, everybody keeps calling each other by their first names except Storm. Is it because she's African? Because I'm getting a vaguely racist vibe from all this. It's not just this movie, it's in all of them.
Storm and Jean.
Bobby.
Hey, Storm.
Storm and I are heading to Boston.
Storm, seal those cracks.
Help! Storm!
Storm.
Storm! Storm!
She has a real name.
Like, if you're gonna do it, call everyone by their mutant name. Don't get me wrong, Storm's a cool name, but her name's Aurora. It's not that hard to pronounce.
Aurora.
Even Magneto's calling everybody by their regular name in this movie. And he, like, only ever calls people by their mutant names. So, what's the deal? Look, do me a favor, look back on these movies. Once you notice it, you never stop noticing it. Also, you know what would be cool? A Thor vs. Storm fight? You gotta make that happen, Foggy. I don't care which Thor it is. It could be Odin's son, it could be Jane Foster, it could be Beta Ray Bill, it could be Throg. I don't care, but I want to see two lightning badasses duke it out. That would be awesome.
Little thunder. Stop it. Little lightning. Stop it. Thunder, lightning, ears.
Okay, back to the movie. Scott takes Charles to Jean, and they have a nice heart-to-heart in her mind, where for some reason she is a little girl again. I guess they couldn't get Sophie Turner back for that scene. Together, they get full control over her powers, and they stop all the aliens from overrunning the train by crashing it. Don't worry, she makes these awesome protective bubbles over the X-Men, which is kind of a nice reflection of the beginning, where she didn't really know how to do that. I kind of like that.
I love it.
She turns all the aliens to dust in a much more visually appealing way than in The Last Stand, where it just felt so blah. Like, I guess you're dust now or whatever. Yeah. Much more satisfying in this one. Then Chastain gives us this ace of a line.
Your emotions make you weak.
Who the fuck wrote this? They blast off into space and explode in the shape of a phoenix.
Oh, I get it.
With Jean seemingly dying as well, but saving everyone. Yay! They renamed the school after her, which I know a lot of people had a problem with them naming it after the person who killed Raven instead of Raven herself. I was fine with it. Jean considered this more her home, whereas Raven wanted to get away from it with Hank. I like it. Oh, hey Quicksilver. Could have used you in that last fight, but whatever. That's cool. Glad you're okay. Charles also steps down as headmaster, which seems like the best choice for everyone after seeing how he mishandled everything. He retires to Paris, where Magneto joins him, and yes, they're playing chess. I fucking love it when they play chess. It's a great callback in all the movies of how their friendship is progressing. Seeing the subtle differences each time they play chess, seeing how they play off each other depending on where they are in their lives. It's a nice round out of their relationship, as in First Class, Charles is lecturing Eric, who is clearly the more lost of the two, and now Eric is kind of teaching Charles a little more about letting go and enjoying life. It's fucking perfect.
Perfection.
The relationship has always felt so real and not just one-sided. They need each other to balance out each other's extreme views. And the
Easy on you. No, you won't.
is a great callback to Days of Future Past. It's so good. Clearly care and time went into this movie when I see moments like this. And then it pans up to the sky and we see a phoenix flying through the air, hinting that maybe Jean is still out there watching them. I love that ending. It reminds me of that admittedly dope last shot of X2, X-Men United.
I am Phoenix Person.
So, yeah, that's the whole movie. Is it a masterpiece? Huh, no way, Jose. But the character growth for Charles, Jean, Hank, Eric, and Scott are all great. If the villain wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, I might even say it's a great movie. But she isn't, so I can't.
Because you're stronger than you know. Because you're special, Jean.
You're the worst.
In the original trilogy, we never really got to see anything from anybody but Wolverine and Rogue. Don't get me wrong, those are interesting characters, but there are so many other
People.
besides them, and I love that they finally don't just rely on Wolverine as the basis for the whole movie. You know, in the comics, Cyclops is very interesting, and while we don't get too deep with him in this movie, it's still more than ever. And Charles actually has flaws. Jean's actually doing stuff for once, and Hank finally gets recognition as one of the smartest people in this universe. This is a vast improvement over Apocalypse, which felt so generic, and its ending felt just like they were throwing everything at a bad guy and seeing if that worked. That was boring. I felt like Kinberg actually gave some kind of effort to make this X-Men movie good. However uneven that it ended up being, he still tried to make it his own. I read that they reshot most of the endings so as not to be compared to Captain Marvel. If I'm being honest, I would much rather rewatch this movie than watch Captain Marvel again. I think that movie suffers the same thing Apocalypse does. It's just so generic and plain. Kinberg went a different way with this one. It doesn't always work, but when it does, I can appreciate the movie for what it is. A solid B.
I'd say a solid B-.
I know it got a lot of hate from critics and from fans, but I honestly think a lot of that is people going in already making up their minds that Dark Phoenix was going to be bad. Not everything with a turbulent production is going to be total garbage. Not everything is fan-four-stick. Some of it can be Rogue One. So I encourage anyone who sees this to check out this movie one more time or for the first time with an open mind. It's worth another look. Trust me, I'm an adult. It's you and me, moving at the speed of light into eternity. Tonight is a night to join me in the middle of ecstasy.